New Formalist Poetry by Kristen Smith. New Formalist Poetry is a form of American poetry from the late 20th century. It is a traditional form of verse that was created in response to the free verse poetry of the 1960s and 1970s. New Formalist poets include Richard Wilbur, Mark Jarman, and Robert Frost.
Acquainted with the Night by Robert Frost. I have been one acquainted with the night. I have walked out in rain, and back in rain. I have outwalked the furthest city light. I have looked down the saddest city lane. I have passed by the watchman on his beat, and dropped my eyes, unwilling to explain. I have stood still, and stopped the sound of feet, when far away an interrupted cry came over houses from another street, but not to call me back or say goodbye, and further still at an unearthly height, O luminary clock against the sky, proclaimed the time was neither wrong nor right. I have been one acquainted with the night.
The speaker of the poem is a man who is dealing with depression alone. The plot describes a man walking alone at night, thinking about himself, his depression, and society. The poem takes place in a dark, empty city in England, late at night while it's raining. The speaker is writing this to describe his journey with depression, as well as the society around him, through symbols of the dark night. Acquainted with the Night is a sonnet with the rhyme scheme of terza rima and a meter of iambic pentameter. Frost writes with repetition when he begins lines 1 through 5, 7, and 14 with I have. He uses personification when giving the clock in the city human characteristics, saying, "The watchman on his beat," and proclaim the time. The themes of Acquainted with the Night include isolation as well as man versus himself versus society when he describes his journey with his illness and the city around him. Acquainted with the Night is filled with symbolism. The symbols of darkness and lightness symbolize his sadness, depression, and the society around him that is not dealing with these things. The symbol of isolation signifies the speaker's loneliness in the world, like when he says, "Outwalk the furthest city light," and "but not to call me back or say goodbye," showing that no one cared for him or was there for him. In conclusion, New Formalist poems, like Acquainted with the Night by Robert Frost, have a traditional structure, but are still filled with themes and symbolism.